we got
Yeah.
it. Right. Make sure we're good on Instagram. All right, got the notification. All right. We're back. We skipped a week. It happens, but we got some good stuff to talk about today.
Yeah. The hardest part when you skip one workout is to not skip two workouts, right? So that's what we're not doing. Yeah.
Exactly. We're gonna at least be on here. Summers are busy, man. I mean, we're getting to that busy season, but not a good excuse. We'll be all right. We'll make
No,
it.
I mean, I also understand because being from Florida, like now I'm in North Carolina, there's a much better appreciation for longer days and nicer weather, you know? For what it's worth, last week I drove like 10 hours collectively that day, so I don't feel too bad.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that's a good excuse there.
Yeah.
But all right. Well, we got a couple people on. I'm sure a few more will trickle in. But RFK, any idea what that means?
Not a clue. I'm too old for this, man.
I'm just saying, we're getting too old. Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Well, right. Philly, thanks for chat. Thanks for throwing in a comment. Probably helps the algorithm some way, but we appreciate you here.
Oh, NC's weather. I mean, for one, that's a broad statement, but I first off, it's subjective. I love the rain myself. I really, really do. I think mentally, it's one of those few things that actually slows down the world and kind of gives you a reason to chill out. But also, I was just outside after the rain and it's gorgeous right now, so I'll take it all day.
It's been very rainy in Wisconsin too, so I think that's hitting the whole U.S. It feels like, but it's been nonstop. But now it's great. Yeah, not too bad. All right, well, let's jump into the topic today. So we thought that it would be good. I don't think we've talked about it a whole lot. We've probably mentioned it briefly here and there, but we're going to focus solely on how to grow your Amazon business, and it's not just, we've talked about, increasing your ROI and buying more inventory, but it's a lot more than that. And we're going to probably break it down a lot more in depth than we ever have, in the past. So I think we're going to talk about the mindset of growing. It's not, so many people preach like grow to the moon, right? 100K, 200K months. Like, you don't need that to be happy. You don't need that to have a successful business. You don't need that to survive. You can, this business can produce a lot of profit if you're doing it the right way without hitting huge numbers. So I think the mindset is huge, a lot bigger than a lot of people actually preach on. The growth mindset is great, but just maximizing everything isn't always the greatest. We're going to talk about our approaches to growth, some of the systems we got put in place on our journey to getting to, 40, 50, 60K months and higher. And then, basically how we both have been able to achieve 50K. I feel like 50K is kind of a cool milestone in an Amazon business on a monthly basis, and consistently hitting 50K is also a pretty big achievement. So, let's start off with maybe, Jonathan, give us your take on the growth mindset, because I feel like we kind of gel. There's just a lot of people talking about, it's not a bad way to do business, right? But you can grow and grow and grow, but cash flow might get hurt. It's kind of hard to keep up. Like, you feel like you always have to be, finding ways to do more and do more. And is that always the best way to do it?
Yeah. So completely agree. I think that I always like to say, like, scaling and growing your profit is not synonymous. Like, I think when you really think about it, the absolute most ideal way to grow is to spend as little money as you have to achieve the maximum amount of profit. So that means that, if somebody spends, for a very round number, 50K a month to make 10K, well, somebody that spends 20K can also make 10K, and they have 30K worth less of risk, 30K less of opportunity cost. So like, and also kind of forces them to be a better sourcer because they have to get higher ROI products. And those numbers aren't too unrealistic. A lot of people are very happy with 20% ROI, and I know that 50% ROI is out there. And I think you need to be in tune with why you want to grow. You need to get an understanding that this is very cash intensive. So if you grow too fast, you can really actually slow down your growth. The more products you take on, the more returns, the more IP issues, the more leakage. So more is not always more in terms of bottom line. I do also understand, by the way, that not everyone's a one size fits all. Some people have a lot of capital, not a lot of time. So they're game for the lower ROI, low hanging fruits. Contrarily, if you have less capital, more time, I would say to be patient, because long term, the higher ROI is going to be much more beneficial. And if people are in a capital crunch, having just higher parameters can really make up the difference. You don't just always need more money. Orange bars are very appealing, and they don't paint a picture. And the more I do this and the more we know like what's really behind it, they mean less and less to me. Show me a really efficient business and like I'll take that all day long. So that's kind of my mindset on it. Like, growth for the sake of it doesn't really do it for me.
Yep. Yeah. And honestly, at the beginning, that's kind of all I knew. When you watch content out there, you see these people doing the big numbers and you're like, that must be what it takes to be successful. You have to hit 100K a month, 150, 200K. December, you have to blow it out of the water, which, there's definitely opportunity, but you can be fulfilled and run a very successful, high profit business without, going over the top. So I totally agree with everything you just said, especially the, understand like what is your goal with the business? Like, do you want to, make 10K profit? Okay. Well, do you have to spend 50K to do that? Like you said, or can you get away with spending 20K? How much time do you need to put into sourcing? Are you, kind of just sloppily sourcing and buying anything that looks semi-profitable, or are you actually vetting out these leads and only buying the top inventory that qualifies, right? So I think we can get into that detail a little bit more later on, but I just think, really understand like what is the goal of the business? Like, are you trying to replace your salary? Are you looking for an extra couple $1,000 a month, pay the mortgage on top of your 9 to 5? Like, there's a bunch of different ways to run this business, but depending on what it is, you just have to understand that so you can kind of capitalize on whatever opportunity you have. If you're trying to, run this to the moon, like understand how much work that's going to take, understand, what type of systems do you need to be in place? Like, if you want to hit 50K profit months, you got to spend a lot on inventory. Well, how are you going to spend a lot on inventory if you're not good at sourcing, right? Or how are you going to spend enough on inventory if you're working a full-time job? Like, you got to find, you got to understand what it's going to take to achieve the goal that you want, and then, go after it. So like you said, 10K profit, it seems like an crazy, like unreasonable number, but it's really, when you break down the numbers, which we could do later on, it's really not a crazy thing to achieve once you've been selling and if you are on a consistent path.
Yeah. And I do want to add to that. I agree with that as well. All of that. Something that a lot of people also don't realize is that it takes a long time to figure out how cash flow works in this business, because there's such a lag from the time you purchase to the time it gets to Amazon, gets checked in, gets sold, and then you get paid, right? And also, I'm not saying people are lying when they say, hey, look, I made 10K this month. I don't disagree with that. But also a P&L that shows 10K doesn't factor in the 20K in inventory that you made horrible purchases on, that's just sitting on Amazon shelves that you're going to actually lose a couple bucks on, right? That's more of a balance sheet, but on a month to month, you only see a profit and loss. So like, no one's lying per se, but it doesn't paint the full picture. And also, 10K profit doesn't feel the same as a W-2 paycheck, because W-2 paycheck, just, you know what you're getting every month. You can make 10K profit on Amazon and actually still have less money than this month than when you started the month, because cash flow, right? And inventory and retail. And it just is, it takes a while. And I would just say, like, just scale accordingly. I don't say you have to adopt profit first, but like, I do think just saying, oh, I'm just going to keep spending whatever I get back, like, it's going to catch up to you one way or the other. And I think it's good to have a good foundation, and like, just, you know, it'll take it. You can get there pretty quickly. I mean, if you spend 20K a month, let's say, then next month is 22, then 24, 26, 28, 30, right? Come next year, you're spending mid 30s, right? Like, that's not that far away. And that makes a substantial difference without shooting yourself in the foot.
Yep, I agree. Ken, 10K profit per month. That's awesome. I think if you listen to everything we're going to talk about today, like, you'll understand that it's not this, like, you know, foreign number that's like impossible to achieve. Like, it is possible. We've both done it multiple times, not even during peak months, right? Like,
yeah,
like, oh, only achievable during December. No, if you're consistent, like you just said, like, I mean, I've been in a place where I have grown too fast, and then the month after that big growth is a huge pullback, because you're like waiting for, you know, the big payout, and you have a big credit card bill due, and then you kind of have to hold. You don't want to buy too much inventory because your statement's about, you know, it's just a lot of, the cash flow is not an easy thing to fully manage until you've maybe got burnt by it, or, you know, have done it long enough where you can kind of pick up on it and you understand the cycle. I guess there's
that story is essentially every Amazon seller that's been doing this long enough, because I think you start getting good and you're like, wow, there's so much out there. I don't want to wait, right? I'm going to keep spending. Oh, wait, I didn't get my cash back soon enough. So now I spent 50K last month and I want to average, you know, but now next month I have to spend 20. So it's all a balancing act. So it all balances out. And I would much prefer to just be nice, smooth, and steady, you know, and like, you could be a little bit more selective on what you buy, but we've all been there, and that's part of the game.
Yep. Awesome. Okay. So I think we talked, that's kind of a great mind. I mean, everybody listening, the mindset of that is, you know, the takeaway here, just understand what the goal is. And then, you know, you're going to have to, we'll help explain, but you're going to have to figure out what's the path to that goal, right? If you want to hit 10K per month, like Ken, you know, how do you achieve that? Well, what numbers are you currently doing? What numbers maybe you need to shoot for? And then, you know, how much are you spending on inventory? You know, what systems you have in place to be able to source, to buy, you know, inventory that's going to get you to 10K profit. A lot of different things, but we'll talk about kind of that path along the way, because we've both done it differently, I think. So it's you'll see both of our perspectives, which is going to be great. So approaches to growth. Now okay, so that was kind of what we just talked about that as well. I think there's a couple different approaches, but now the systems, like I just mentioned, how do we get to 10K months? How do we get to, you know, our first $1,000 profit?
Right.
Certain things happen, just, you know, you're buying inventory here and there, and then all of a sudden you see, wow, I did 5,000 in sales my first month, my second month, and that made me 1,000 profit. Okay, cool. Now how do I increase from there, right? And when you start to get to these larger numbers, like a 10K profit month, you're going to need systems in place. You don't just get there by stumbling into it and buying inventory here and there. You're going to have to be consistent to get to that goal. So maybe, Jonathan, you want to talk about, you know, kind of some of the systems maybe you have in place to be consistent and not, you know, do 10K one month and 2K the next month and bounce all over the place.
Yeah. So I think once you get to a certain level, you know, you start inching towards your budget or what you're willing to spend. You know, I think honestly, when you're starting off, you don't really know what you don't know. So like, you're just doing the best you can. And that's awesome. You know, you're taking action, you're trying to be steady on your spend, not over leveraging, whatever, figuring it out. But like, once you have enough data, you can kind of reverse engineer your spend. So what I mean by that is, let's say for the last 6 months, I've averaged $50,000 in sales. Okay. What is my average of cost of goods sold over those last 6 months? Let's say it's $25,000. So now I know I'm in a groove on average. When I spend $25,000 a month, that equates to $50,000 in sales. Okay. So whatever I spend, the sales is 2 times that. Now, on that $50,000 in sales, let's say I make $5,000. Okay. Just 10% profit margin when it's all said and done. Okay. So now I know I have to spend $25,000 in order to make $5,000 profit. Okay. So now the next step, this was a big turning point for me. It wasn't just lackadaisically spending. I'm not saying you have to be neurotic and it doesn't have to be overcomplicated, but how do I make a point to hit 25K spend every month, right? If 5K profit was my goal, or I want to maintain or whatever. So then I might say, okay, well, based on my schedule, I'll track this weekly, or somebody that does it every day, right? So if it's every day, I need to be around $1,000 a day. Every week, I need to be around $6,000. And just that little, I think there's a saying, I'm going blank, but what gets measured, what gets measured?
I think I know. Yeah.
Damn it. Well, listen, you have it, when you get on when you measure what you're doing, it's easier to manage it, right? And so that little tweak of tracking, first reverse engineering your numbers and then tracking your spend, it's amazing how everything else kind of falls into place.
Yeah. That's kind of exactly the way I was going to go. Actually, is when I started tracking my inventory spend, it just paints the clear picture of what you need to do. Like you said, if you're spending 25K, making 5K, and you're like, okay, how do I get that to 10? Do I need to really spend 50K? Or do I need to really understand my numbers and say only 10% profit margin? Let's bump that up to 12 or 15. Now, what does that 25K get me in profit, right? And you'll see that's going to bump you up to 7K. Okay, well, I can only stretch the profit so far. So let's say on average, right, I'm going to shoot for 15% profit margin. Now I only need to spend 35K to double my profit compared to what I was doing. So yeah, whether it's a spreadsheet you put together or you just kind of like keeping a mental note, like every month, go over how much you spent on inventory, what was your sales and what was your profit, on that inventory. And then, go off those numbers and kind of, like you said, backtrack the data that you already have on your own numbers and see where you need to go from there to grow.
And then also I would say too, be honest with yourself. Do I have more time? Like if my margin isn't where I want it to be, do I have a little more time that I'm willing to put into the business? If so, maybe increase your ROI by 10%. So instead of accepting 25%, you only accept 35%. And if you don't have more time, then that might be okay, right? We all have different resources. It's basically time, money, and skill set. And so you have to be honest with where you're at. If I have more time and money, do I have the skill set? Am I willing to get better and better? And so, you just check in with yourself, but you have to look at the numbers to understand, where everything falls into place. So, I was thinking too, when we were talking about this, I wrote down 3 things for me that were like really, I think, turned a corner for me. Like I was getting consistently between like 40 and 60K a month. And then that's now 60's been like the new low for me. And my margin doesn't go down because I do this all the time. So I'm actually getting more skilled. But three major things. One, this all happened about a year ago. I started sharing leads. I joined a really good leads list. And most importantly, I didn't just source when I felt like sourcing or when I could fit it in. I made it my priority first thing in the morning. And those 3 things to me, looking back and just time in the game, really shifted me. And for the leads, sharing the leads and the leads list, it's just because it opened me up. Once you get the skill set of sourcing, all I really need is new brands and new sites and new ideas presented to me. And I know how to find the good listings. And now they're on my radar to run them through Keep a Product Finder or when a sale's on. It's just sometimes you need that. And that's kind of, to me, the 3 things that I thought of that really helped me turn the corner.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that, and I think we've talked about that plenty. How sourcing is a priority, and again, if it's not a priority for you, and it's maybe the thing holding you back, like time spent. So I kind of went the other way. So I was spending a lot of time sourcing, and so okay, I'll go back even further. So I was at a point where I wanted to grow more, but I was spending this much time sourcing, and I was also spending 10 to 15 hours a week prepping items. So I'm like, okay, well, how do I get to spend more time? How do I open up more time to source more? Because sourcing is my best skill in this business. I've been doing it for years. I feel like nobody's, I could hire someone and they're not going to do it better than me because I've been just doing it for so long. I know the brands, I know the charts. Like, that type of knowledge is hard to train somebody, even though you can. So I'm like, okay, I need to find more time to source. So getting a prep center kind of gave me, that extra 5 to 10 to 15 hours a week to source. So that was kind of a step for me, getting the prep center. And then another step for me, kind of going a different direction. Again, I just was not having enough time to source, running the entire business, repricing, doing all these things. So I looked to get a virtual assistant, which I had made sure at that point that I was confident I could train them to, at least be good enough to find leads, in the time that I wasn't able to source. So at the time I had hired 2 virtual assistants, both sourcing for me full time. And again, I want to preface, VAs are not requirement for this business. You hear a lot of people talking about it online. You can do things yourself. I mean, I could have kept prepping myself, and I probably could have found ways to grow. You just get more efficient once you do things over and over again. Efficiency goes up, but you want to be spending the bulk of your time doing the highest ROI tasks in the business. And for me, that was sourcing. When I kind of ran out of I couldn't pull from other things, I just kind of maximized the amount of time I could source. So I wanted to increase the amount of time put into sourcing for my business. So getting 2 VAs was that step for me. So spent a lot of time training them. They work 40 hours a week for me. I'm down to 1 VA now, but she does great work for me every week. I basically can wake up to 3 to 6, 7 leads every single day of the week. And that's helping me spend anywhere from 500 to 2,000 basically every day without even sourcing on my own. So then I get to source on my own, increase the spend even further. So yeah, I guess we both have, different. I think we had different turning points, but it kind of all the root of why we were, doing this was basically the same. Like we just needed to spend more time on the high ROI tasks. And then how did we get to that point? You made a priority. I outsourced a little bit, and we kind of got to the same scaling result.
I think it's a great time to say one of the beauties of Amazon is that there's no one way to do this. And somebody could make 500 extra bucks a month sourcing on their own while they go grocery shopping. Someone can there's people making tens of thousands of dollars profit. Some people are doing sourcing, some are putting VAs. Like, there is truly no right or wrong. You have to I think the best piece of advice is you need to figure out what works for you. Your time, again, going back to the resources, your time, your skill set, your capital, what you want. But just because somebody else is doing it one way doesn't mean you should or shouldn't. Now, I think there is a point there. I mean, I think one thing, though, that is universal, you have to put in some time to get good, because even outsourcing, like you just said, you have to be skilled enough to explain what they have to do, right? So I think that's one of the beauties of Amazon. I really do. I think it's very unique in that regard, that you can have somebody that super small scale, a couple extra bucks a month. Some people could make very good money doing it, and you gotta tinker it with yourself.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I do want to talk about tracking my leads and my spend a little bit more, because I feel like we both do a pretty good job of that, and that actually was kind of a second turning point for me. So I outsourced the prep set. I got a prep center, I got some VAs, and then I just was kind of scattered all over the place. I was buying here and there, buying from the VAs, and doing some prep myself. Then I would start sending some shipments from my house, and repricing and creating content for social media. And I was kind of all over the place. And I'm like, I need to put more focus on understanding, it kind of goes back to what we first started talking about, is what is the goal here? So how do you, I kind of was like, oh, I just want to make a lot of money, but I didn't really have like the right goal set or the right path to get there. So I was kind of just buying, and then hoping my numbers were great at the end of the month. Right. So that I did build a spreadsheet for myself that basically I can type all my inventory into it. It tracks the last 6 months of spend versus sales. And then again, I can kind of like, it's also inventory tracking, where I'm tracking if it arrived at the prep center, did any units get canceled, stuff like that. But yeah, it's a good metric for me, where I'm checking, how much profit do I want to make this month, or how many sales do I want to make? What do I need to spend on inventory every week to be on pace to hit that based on my historical numbers? And that information was some of the best information I could understand in my own business. Because even if you can do big numbers if you don't understand that, but if you want to be consistent, if you want to be on a steady growth path, like I said, I can type into my spreadsheet, I want to spend 15K on inventory this month. What kind of sales is that going to get me? Okay, I need to spend 5K more next month. And then the month after that, another 5K, or, whatever it is. I can go backwards. I could say, I want to hit 55K in sales this month. Based on my historical numbers, I need to spend 23,000 in inventory. Now, if I want to go up 10% next month, or if next month is, back to school season, I think I could probably increase my sales by 25%. Okay, what historically do I need to spend on my inventory to achieve that number? And that's going to make it a lot easier, on the daily basis. For me, it made it a lot easier understanding what I need to spend, when I need to spend it. Can I wait till the sale happening on the weekend, or am I going to fall too behind? Right? Can I skip days of sourcing? Like, you don't have to be sourcing every day. Like Jonathan mentioned, like, find the path that is going to work with your schedule, work with what works for you. If that's, retail arbitrage on the weekends and sourcing online on the weekdays, like, find something that works for you, and it's going to help growth a lot. It's going to make growth a lot easier.
Yeah, no, totally. Also, I've heard something before, that in the business world, like, it's much easier to keep a current customer than acquire a new one. And I kind of think of products that I've added to my catalog that way. And we've talked about this on previous episodes, but like, another way to scale is that this is a very compounding game. So the more time you're in the game, the bigger and bigger and bigger your catalog is going to get. And at any given time, that percentage of when those products are good is going to just be a percentage, I think, of like how many good products you have. So the more and more you can, throw good products against the wall, it's just a matter of time. And the longer you're in the game, okay, this site has a sale once a quarter that I know is great. The first time you buy 5, second time you buy 10. Come the third and fourth quarter, now you're buying 25 of multiple products, and you haven't had to do any more work on the second, third, and fourth purchase, right? And so think of that at scale. So I know early on it's really tough to you're like clawing your way to find just a few winning products. Trust me, we all get that. Like, we've all been there. But the more and more you do that, it just adds up. It's consistency, but also, I like to use the term patiently persistent. It's not just sitting back and doing nothing and waiting. You're actively doing stuff, but you can only go so fast. It does take time.
I'll ask you this question as a hypothetical. Do you think because our catalog, my catalog is 3,000 products deep, 98% of them are inactive because I've sold out, and I have, some of them I replen here and there, but most of my replens are like within the last 9 months, 12 months, maybe.
Yeah.
If there was a software out there that took every product you've ever purchased and tracked what price you bought it at, right? Maybe you input what price you bought it at, and then what's that profitable break even.
Yeah.
And it would just notify you every time any product you've ever bought and said, hey, you should buy this. You could sell it profitably at the moment. Like, how much would that boost your sales? Well, for me, because like I said, whether it's my VA or whether it's me, I'm looking at like my most recent replens, like, oh, something sold really well,
right,
this month, last month, the month before. It's hard for me to go back 3 years and look at some of my good products then. Maybe they were good then, and then they went out for like a good 6 months, kind of forgot about them, and now it's like so far out of my mind. But it was a good product for me back then. I just can't. It's just so much to keep track of at this point.
Yeah, I know. I think that would be valuable. I think the closest thing I can think of just quickly off the top of my head, we all have every storefront has a code associated with it, so if you were to put that into Keepa Product Finder, your own code, you're essentially having Keepa Product Finder present you every single item in your catalog. And then you can kind of run some filters on your own stuff, like which one has an increased buy box over the last 90 days by 20%, right? So now you're looking at your own stuff. I do that with other sellers, and I do that with myself too, because same exact point, or a great example is when I know there's a site-wide sale for New Chapter, because I'm red restricted, right? I would go into my catalog and filter it by brand and Keepa Product Finder for New Chapter. And then I would see what has a decreasing seller count, what has an increasing price. So that's one way. I know that's not like a notification base, but that's a pretty quick way to run some filters on your own stuff. Another thing that comes to mind is, but none of these are like an instant notification, but you can track products in Keepa as well, right? And you can set notify me when it's at this price or higher, or this price or lower, if you're doing like Amazon to Amazon or whatever. And I think that's a pretty regular part of my game now too, because like it takes 2 seconds, maybe you didn't buy a product or even something you did. It's like, hey, notify me so it's top of mind. I don't have a perfect solution, certainly not like what you said, but those are some tactics.
So are you just getting Keepa notifications left and right because you have so many products tracked?
Yeah, but I send those to one of my off emails, to be honest.
Oh, nice.
What I like more than the notifications, although the notifications can be very, very good, I would almost dedicate an email just for that, to be honest, is what I probably should do. So that's all you see.
Yep.
And check it every day. Like, especially if you set numbers that when I get notified, this is very likely to be profitable, or even a little before that. So maybe you're catching it on the way up. You know what I mean? So before it's too late. I just completely lost my train of thought. What was I saying before that?
We were talking about, dude, I don't even know.
keep tracking. Oh yeah, I swear I had something
searching there. You're searching your own storefront on Keepa Product Finder.
Yes. But even if you don't pay attention to, my bad. Even if you don't pay attention to the emails, if you go to the products you're tracking in Keepa and you set a price, you can just see the visual of where is the current buy box versus where I required it. It's like a whole line. I don't know if you've done that, but like, it's a very quick process. You can just scroll right through them. And if you see them getting close, to stop and examine it.
Yep. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I need to use that alert system more. I have some out of stock alert, like a tab out of stock, but I have not gotten to the Keepa alerts. But
yeah, I've been going nuts with Keepa. Like, it's just, I've been getting taste of it, and now like I'm gonna make something with it, because like I'm like pretty locked in right now with it. It's a huge part of the game for me. So what's up, Seth? I see Frank's got a question too.
Going. We're both doing great. We're doing great. Busy as ever. Frank, how would you filter an increase in buy box price with no more than a 20% price drop in 90-day average?
Okay, hang on a sec. All right. So how would you increase buy box price? That know how to do with no more than a 20%. Oh, so it's not like too fluctuated? Is that what I'm understanding?
I think so. It's like, yeah, you don't want to see a big drop in the last 90 days and then a massive increase. So maybe like, yeah, probably products that just have like a huge fluctuation. Maybe it's like an influx of sellers, or if it goes down to no sellers and you see the price go way up and then all of a sudden sellers jump back on and now it's right back to where it was on the 90-day average type.
So what comes to mind, this is going to be a little tough without showing it. We'll definitely do some episodes on that. But off the top of my head, what you would do is first things first to have an increased buy box. I actually think that's one of those lines. It's like a double. You have to use negatives, right?
Yep.
So you would go to the 90-day average percentage. And let's just say you're looking for a buy box that has increased by 20 to 50%. So reading left to right, you'd actually do -50 to -20. And that reads buy box increase from 20 to 50%. I know that could be a little confusing if you're not familiar, but you'll understand it.
Yep.
Now, so that's one part. The second part is for something that with no more than a 20% price drop. So basically what we would be trying to achieve is something with a steady price, right? Because he said correct. Yep. So a couple ways you can do that. For one, in the buy box, I think there's current, there's 30-day, 90-day, right? You can play around with some prices. So actual numbers, not percentages. Let's just say hypothetically, current day is $50 or more, right? And remember, this is an increase. Yep. So next, what we might be looking for on the 90-day or the 30-day is between 40 and 49, and maybe on the 90-day 38 to 49 if you want to expand it just a little bit more. And that kind of creates like a tunnel. Like nothing's going to appear that's less than $38, and current day it's $50 or more. This can be a lot more nuanced, and I'd have to have it in front of me, but conceptually, you see what I'm saying? Like you can filter it out to you can give ranges of what the price has been over 30-day, 90-day current, while also having an increase on the buy box percentage. Does that make sense, Alex? To you at least?
Yeah, no, that's exactly, that's kind of the two probably most common ways you can show an increase. And then by you putting the upper limit of 20% minimum increase in the buy box price, it will not even show products that have flatlined in the last 90 days. It will not show any products that have shown decrease in the last 90 days. So that's going to be like, only prices going up. And consequently, you're going to probably see a lot of those products drop, like decreasing in offer count, because that's kind of how the supply and demand works on a lot of these products. But yeah, that's going to be a great search. Like if you just do that, you don't have to put any other, maybe a sales rank filter, so you're not dealing with the super slow moving products, but the sales rank, settle upper limit, and then doing this buy box filter will put you in front of, if not super profitable products that are on the way, or ones you can track where, like we just said, to keep alerts, like something's close. I know the Mother's Day sales are coming. If this price stays where it's at or it keeps going, there's going to be I'm buying this profitably easy. So
yeah, I actually think a really good something similar to that. I mean, conceptually, what you just described makes a lot of sense. A steady price that is currently has an increase in buy box, right? That's going to be a solid search. When you have steady products, I find it's a unique filter, like especially a steady product with a really good sales rank. It's very hard to find those routinely profitable, but it's the type of thing that if you track those 1 or 2 times a year, when you can get that item at rock bottom, you're going to have a fast moving profitable item, right? And that in itself is something worth saving. Maximum sales rank 50K, you filter it out so there's like 10% fluctuation in the price over the last year or whatever, right? If you bought it 99% of the year, it's a break even. But these 2 opportunities throughout the year, you make your 50% ROI or whatever, and it flies, right? Like, I think that's a very good, or really good cashback days. That's another opportunity, right? Or once in a blue moon, stock just becomes very limited. That's an opportunity. So we're sidetracking, but yeah, that's a good search, just generally speaking.
I mean, to tie it back, it's all the bigger the alert list you have, and the more, opportunity you have to buy profitable leads, it's going to help you hit your spend on inventory, right? If that goal is to increase your spend by 2K every month, like how are you going to get that 2K? Are you going to source more? Are you going to hire VA? Are you going to buy, higher ROI products, or are you going to, get yourself in front of better products more efficiently? And Keepa Alerts is a really efficient way. You don't have to be sorting through spreadsheets for hours a day, looking at these leads that aren't profitable. You're not thinking about it, and you're getting the notification. So, I think this all ties to the system. It's a great system to put in place to get you that extra spend, whether it hits once, like you said, once a month or once a year, it's going to increase your spend at some point. So, there's really no downside to tracking these types of products once you find, ones that look solid. So,
yeah.
Oh man, 40 minutes. Any last questions you guys have? Maybe we'll sit around for like another minute or two. Otherwise, I feel like we gave away a lot of good stuff today. I mean, the growth talk there's a lot of ways to think about it, right? We said there's just a lot of different ways to grow, but understanding how to grow, why you're growing, and what the actual goal is, and then how to get to that goal is probably some of the most important information you can have in your business. And then, understanding where you want to be in the business. That's going to be huge.
I really wish that orange bars were replaced by profit, because a lot of less people would share, and a lot of less people would think that they're doing something wrong. Maybe I truly believe, it's not to be counterculture, but like the ideal flex is to spend and risk as little of your money as possible and achieve the maximum profit within reasonable amount. Like, I'm not going to spend 100 hours a week more just to achieve 10% higher ROI, right? But my point is, like, buying to me, it all boils down to buying quality products, because over the long term, that's going to pay off exponentially. And it just requires you to borrow less, to risk less. Listen, as someone who just came with all the red restriction stuff, like, I'm not worried about like deactivation and stuff. I'm really not. But like, it is a swift reminder that your money can get tied up momentarily at any given time. So the less you have to risk, I don't know. Everything's an opportunity cost too. So like, if it's going there, it's not going here, right? It's just some things to consider. Yeah, it does not.
Well type. Yeah. Yep. Hey, I mean, this is you can take this information and you can run with it. I mean, you can listen. There's plenty of other sellers giving good advice too. So I think if you just take what you're hearing here and try to incorporate some of it, or at least understand like what we're trying to get across. Like, you don't have to hit 100K months. If you want to shoot for 10, 20, 30K profit months, like, go ahead, just understand what it's going to take to get there, and don't be disappointed when it's like, oh, I don't have enough time to source. Well, you got to get really good at sourcing, and then you need to get more time. So either you spend more time yourself or you outsource to gain more time, right? You just got to, I think it's just really being super self-aware. If a good business owner is going to be really self-aware about the business, and they're going to be able to make the smart decisions and act quick on what they need to do to either grow or maintain or increase profits, whatever it is, you just have to understand and know what needs to get done to achieve the goal.
Yep. Agreed.
All right. I think that was a good way to end it. Thanks for joining, everyone. We appreciate everybody who stuck around this entire time. Yeah. You know what? We're on Thursdays here and there, usually every week, but
mostly, yes.
Hopefully. Maybe next week I might be traveling, so we'll see. But
I can. You did a solo recently. Feel free to enjoy. I can handle it.
All right. Either way, you might see one of us next week. But again, we appreciate everybody listening. It's a lot of fun doing these. I mean, it doesn't take a lot of time out of our day, and we get to chat about our business that we love doing. So thanks for sticking around, and we'll see you guys next week.
See you guys.